as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days. Okay. So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40. Okay. This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brown. As always, have another special guest on the show. This time it's featuring the national NFL reporter for Fansided. His name is Matt Verderame. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark.
Oh, anytime, Matt. And then we do realize that, knowing that you're a national NFL reporter, there was a new article that I saw on ESPN that came out just at 9:30 this morning Central Time, and it was about Dr. Fauci expressing that that football can be the perfect setup to spread the coronavirus, and he was saying that with the potential second wave this fall, he has a lot of concerns regarding that. So, what are your thoughts on the coronavirus and the NFL at this point? I mean, we still do have plenty of time because this is not until football season doesn't officially start until September the 10th, so that's in a good 4 months from now. So, what do you expect leading into that point?
Well, Mark, I think you look at the situation, even nationally, not even so much globally, and you say, okay, look, the numbers are going down a lot of places of active cases, of deaths from these cases. But now we have to start reintroducing, basically the general economy. So now how does that factor into the way that these cases rise, if they do, assuming they do, and then do they fall again before September? So, look, I think the NFL gave us a really big hand. I wrote about this in my Stack in the Box column on Fansided today, in which I wrote, look, the NFL told you all you need to know about their thoughts and the way they did the schedule. They did not have the AFC, NFC matchups for the first 4 weeks like a lot of people thought. They put it out like they put out every other schedule. So they are telling you, without telling you, that, hey, we think we're playing all these games. We're full speed ahead. We're not worried about the idea of having to postpone. Now, that can change. Everything with this is fluid. If there's an outbreak in August, well, they're going to have to reevaluate. But I think right now the NFL's thought is, look, we're going to play these games. If we have to play without fans, we're going to play them without fans. The Dolphins have already come out publicly with a plan of how to get 15,000, 20,000 people into their stadium with social distancing. We'll see if that can come to fruition. We'll see if that's copied by other teams. But I think ultimately, look, the league is planning on getting the season done on time all the way through. And if they have to, they can pull different levers to try to push this thing back. But right now, I think they're looking at September 10th and thinking, yeah, we're playing at Arrowhead Stadium that night with or without fans.
Yeah, that's actually a smart move because, it's good to set up the schedule just in case, and then, to move forward, it brings up a lot of optimism too. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. It's not a bad idea at all. And that was a good statement by Roger Goodell saying that he's prepared to make adjustments. But, hey, we got to live, each day by day, take it day by day, taking a little bit at a time. So there's no need for people to rush into jumping the gun and saying that, football's going to get canceled. Nobody knows what the future holds. So actually having a planned out schedule is a smart thing, and especially moving forward because, the players need to stay in shape. Camp is going to be starting pretty soon, rookie camp and a mini camp, and then, facilities are going to have to reopen one of these days. So it's just I feel like it's a slow process, but the good news is about football is there's plenty of time for improvement, plenty of time to make adjustments, and players need to stay in shape, as I said earlier. So what are your thoughts on that? So how do you think these facilities will start reopening? You think they'll have to perform social distancing with teammates and stuff like that? Because I did speak to a defensive end for the Washington Redskins a few weeks back, and he said that most of the time they've been working on their own at their not even apartment gyms, basically at their home gyms or anything like that, or just working out somewhere else. Just away from each other. So they haven't had any actual in-person meetings with any coaches or any other teammates. It's been virtual, basically. They've been doing a lot of Zoom interviews, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and I think, look, right now, the NFL sent out a memo to all 32 clubs saying, hey, look, come May 15th, we're going to try to start slowly opening up these facilities, which is Friday. And Mike Tomlin talked about, we have to make sure that as a league, we all come back at the same time because otherwise there's a competitive disadvantage. So that has to be factored in as well. Some states obviously are a lot harder hit than others. And some have different rules right now than other states. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. Look, if I were the NFL, I wouldn't worry all that much about getting OTAs in. I think it's overblown. I don't think most teams are all that concerned about OTAs. I'm not saying that there's not some value in them. I think there are for rookies. I think there are for teams that have new head coaches. That I do think matters. I think teams like, let's say the Giants, for example. I think it matters to the Giants. It might matter to the Cowboys, even though they're a little bit more of a veteran team. They don't have that experience of Mike McCarthy. But I think a team like the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Saints, they could skip OTAs and minicamp and not skip a beat. I don't think it matters all that much. The main thing for these teams is to be ready for training camp, and that is, late July, early August. And I think that's fairly easy to do, provided you can test and make sure that these players who are playing don't have the coronavirus actively. Like that I don't think is all that hard. You can just say, look, we're not having fans at training camp this year. And I don't think that's that big of a deal. I mean, that to me doesn't change anything. Now, whether or not you still have all your preseason games, well, you can figure that out. But I think the league has time on its side, and it should be coming up with every plan and every contingency plan it can in the meantime.
Exactly. That's very well said. And just going off of that, where do you think, for example, like some teams that are in the hot spots, like Philadelphia or even New York or LA, and for the hot spot teams, like how do you think they'll be able to adjust to situations like this?
Well, I think, again, it really comes down to a lot of times the state governments and what they're doing. Governor Cuomo in New York talked today about the fact that they're looking to kind of start to reopen the state. But they're going to do it in a region-by-region basis. So New York City is going to be the last place to open. Now, the Jets and the Giants, of course, they play actually in New Jersey, and they train in Jersey, although the Giants do have their training camp up in New York, as do the Jets. So, there's a lot of moving parts. These teams, I would imagine this year, a lot of them might say, look, we're not going to travel for training camp. We're just not. We're going to have training camp in our bubbles. It's fine. We can do it. It's not a big deal. Other teams might say, hey, look, you know what? We can sequester ourselves at, whatever college we go to, and we feel good about that. We can do that. And maybe, if they can work it out with the schools, they still go about it. But I think, look, when you're talking about the Jets, the Giants, the Eagles, the Rams, the Chargers, the Niners, teams that are in those hotspots, like you said, there does have to be a certain level of the team working with the local and state governments and figuring out, okay, this is what we're good for, this is what we're not good for. Should we maybe take training camp somewhere else? Should we work on contingency plans for, hey, do you think we can play a home game in September at our home stadium? If not, where do we have to go? Do we have to go outside the state? Do we have to go outside the city? All these conversations are going to be happening over the next handful of months, and hopefully none of them are needed. Hopefully we get to September and this thing has diminished to the point where you can play, maybe even have fans, but we just don't know. We don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's good that they're already coming up with possible contingency plans and, possible scenarios of if they were to get into a situation, like you just said, like if they can't play at all in their city, they have to relocate somewhere else. So, I mean, that's another thing. But another option is, people have been talking about this for other sports too, about playing without fans. I mean, I feel like that's very doable. And how do you think that'll affect the NFL if they if the entire league plays without fans at all?
I think it'll be really weird. And I think you're going to have home field advantage go by the boards in a lot of ways. Obviously you're not going to have 8,000 people screaming when the road team's got the ball. So it will be very odd. I think as a viewer of the game, people are going to think it's very strange. But will they watch? Yeah, they're still going to watch. It's still the NFL. And listen, TV's it's a visual medium. But at the same point, there's also a little tricks of the trade. They could pump in crowd noise. I mean, teams have been doing that forever anyway. Like, they could pump crowd noise in and make it feel like there are 80,000 people there and just do a tight shot of the field. You don't even see the stands being empty. So I think, the hope is that this isn't the way it's going to be. That maybe even early in the year you can have some semblance of fans. Maybe by the middle of the year you can have it half full. Maybe by the end of the year you can have full stadiums. And again, that's all, pie in the sky. I mean, they could also have a season where they have to have no fans. But, I think, would it affect the league? Yeah, I think, I think the game of the year probably is Kansas City at Baltimore week 3 on Monday Night Football. If there's no fans there, it's an immense help for Kansas City. They don't deal with any noise. You can go in there and it's like a neutral site game. So, but it all matters. But I think it's early in the year is when it's going to be the oddest because it's never happened before.
Exactly. I mean, it will be extremely odd because it'll look like just a scrimmage. And not even that, because if there's no fans in there, that means there'll barely be any media personnel because they'll have to practice social distancing still. So that'll be a very awkward situation, especially if it's broadcasted, on major networks, which 99.9% sure it will be. And it'll just seem quiet. and it just looked like you're just watching practice or watching not even the spring football game, because some spring football games have no fans in the stands at all, but barely any. But this is the NFL we're talking about. So you're exactly right about that. That'll be extremely mind blowing. So I wouldn't understand. It's just obviously, it's unfortunate how this has been played. This virus has played a huge role in how it's affected everyday life for just about everybody that exists. So I mean, it's just a lot of uncertainty at the point, but I'm just really glad that the NFL was to release their schedule. And then what are some other takeaways that you've had so far from the schedule release, and what the NFL has plans for leading for the next 4 months?
Yeah, I think, from the schedule release, I already said one of them was that, I think you look at it and you see the way they did it. I think they clearly feel like they're going to go full steam ahead. They're going to play these games. They did not build that schedule in a way where they thought, we're going to have to lock off the first 4 games. No, they have, they have the Saints and the Buccaneers playing week 1. It's one of the most important games of the year. I mean, they clearly believe that those games are going to get played. They're going to get played on time. But then, beyond that, look, I thought, when you looked at the schedule, I thought the Bears early on in the year, they have a pretty favorable slate. They really might win their first 4 or 5 games, even if they're an average team. I thought, you'll look around, and I thought the NFL did a really good job this year of balancing things out. I didn't think there were too many teams that really got jobbed. In the Cardinals, I thought their schedule was kind of tough. They started out at the Niners, and a couple weeks later they started a 3-game road trip. I thought it was interesting. Kansas City, somebody pointed this out. They don't play anybody off of a bye week. That certainly helps. But I thought they did a good job of really spreading the schedule out. I will say week 3 to me is a week that people really should pay attention to. It's early in the year, but there's going to be a lot of implications off that. The Texans play the Steelers. That could be a battle that eventually comes down to a tiebreaker for a playoff spot. You have the Chiefs and the Ravens on Monday Night Football. You have the Packers and the Saints at the Superdome on Sunday Night Football. There's a lot of games that week between really good teams that you may look back on and go, that was when a massive tiebreaker was decided. So, and I believe the Seahawks and the Cowboys also play against each other that week in Seattle. So there's a lot of games that I looked at and said, okay, that's an early season. That's a September Sunday. That's going to have major implications come January.
Oh, yeah, it will. Exactly. And then I'm just excited to see how, because I know they've made a few adjustments too. Like there's going to be some new things going on, new rules, not new rules, but like some new games that are happening like on different days. Like for example, I'm looking at the schedule right now for week 1, and I've noticed that there's going to be 2 games on Monday, September 14th. There's going to be a 7:15 p.m. game and a 10 p.m. game. So it's going to be the Steelers and the Giants, and then the Titans and Broncos. I feel like this has happened before, but like if I recall recently, I do not recall seeing 2 Monday night games. As a matter of fact, so I don't think I've ever seen that before.
They do that. They've done that the past decade or so for week 1, and then after that they just had the one-off. So one thing I thought was interesting was on Christmas Day. I think it's a Friday, and they're playing games on Christmas, which I don't recall them doing that. I mean, obviously, I remember them having games on Christmas, but not if it didn't fall on the weekend or on a Thursday. So to have a game on a Friday, I found interesting. You don't usually see that, but hey, look, it's an interesting slate. I mean, the NFL, this again does happen occasionally, just depending on how the calendar falls. But you're playing Week 17 in January. I mean, it's January 3rd, so you're going to have all these games. I mean, it's just going to. The cold weather is going to creep up earlier. You're going to, by week 13, you're going to be in December. You're going to have games where if you're playing in a cold weather city, you could have real legitimate, weather conditions for the last 5-6 games of the schedule. It's going to be very interesting in those cities to see, how the weather shakes out and how much of an effect it has.
Yeah, exactly. Because you said it's going to be the Vikings and Saints playing each other on Christmas Day. So that'll be the sight to see because, what we've noticed from all these years is that the NBA always has games on Christmas Day, and now with the NFL having a game, that's going to be just a sports overload. Just seeing both major leagues going at it on Christmas Day, that would be really cool. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to something like that. I feel like that's going to be. I feel like the NFL is going to really get a huge bump up the road for that.
Yeah, and I can imagine that the NBA is not thrilled about it because the NFL. While the NBA certainly has its viewership, the NFL is going to steal a lot of viewers for that game. If the Vikings and the Saints are in playoff contention, you certainly expect the Saints will be. The Vikings should be as well. I would imagine that in that window, NBA games are going to be taking a hit in viewership. So it'll be interesting to see, the number that it does, especially being kind of that unorthodox Friday night game. But listen, if you're the NFL, I mean, these are uncharted territories. You don't know how college football is going to shake this year. Do they move some games to Saturday night? If there's no college football, now hopefully there is, but if there's not, does the NFL say to hell with it? We're going to play games on Saturday. We're going to move things around. We're going to get another primetime window, especially if there's no fans at the games. If there's no fans at the games, what does the NFL care? I mean, at that point, you're not worrying about inconveniencing fans who are traveling to the games. So there are some different things that could happen this year that just obviously have never happened before.
Exactly, and then that was actually a good indicator right there when you mentioned how if college football doesn't happen, then the NFL takes over Saturday and Sunday. That means they'll have to do a schedule adjustment again and possibly like maybe another schedule release. But I don't know if it'll take them 3 hours to actually release something like that because this exactly because I'm assuming if that were to happen, we won't find out until around really like late July, early August, because college football starts around the end of August too. So if they were to make a statement saying that we're not going to have it, they'll be probably by late July, early August to give people a glimpse of what's going to happen. Because they already did. I know there's a lot of conferences in college football did already state, like for example, the Big 12 did state that they are hosting their media day virtually, which has never happened before. So I mean that's one of them, but I'm not 100% sure about the other conferences. But I'm pretty sure they'll follow the same category. So just looking at that. The NFL still that's actually a good suggestion right there that the NFL can still run without college football because the NFL is its own entity. I mean it's professional and there's a lot of viewership and revenue involved. So I can see that potentially happening too. Yeah,
I mean, look, like I said, again, you were talking about uncharted territory. Anything is on the table. I mean, I think again, in a perfect world, there's college football. And the NBA and the NHL are rolling along, and you've got college basketball starting in the late fall. I think that's what everybody wants, But it's just a question of is that what everybody is going to get? And again, we're sitting here in early May. We just don't know. We might get to July 4th and say, man, things are going great. We've got a ton of testing. Things are really looking up. We might also get to July 4th and go, man, it's still just crushing us. We tried to reopen the economy. Things didn't work out that well. So there are just so many different ways that this could go, but hopefully it goes the right way.
Exactly, and then life is all about risks, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there complaining that, hey, this is really ridiculous how they're opening everything up, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I feel like if you actually – I mean, it's worth the risk. Think about it, because if you don't do anything at all, the economy is going to continue to suffer even more. It's already suffered enough. So it's like if you don't even make a stand now, because now with things – I mean, we're not saying that things have really slowed down. I mean, there's going to be a lag already. There's already a lag in a few states. Like in Texas right now, there's been a lag the past few days of no updated case counts because I'm not 100% sure why, but there's a lag right now. And I'm assuming by maybe the end of this week or sometime next week it'll start to – we'll be able to see some more updates pretty soon. But in other states, there's been lags too. So I guess they're waiting since they're opening everything up, they're going to wait. It's going to take about a few weeks for people to actually contract the virus if they do or not. So it's worth the risk. And I mean, it could be bad, it could be good, like you said. But like we all hope that it's going to be on the good side instead of the bad side because we've already suffered enough. And it'll just be great to see the bright side out of this tunnel that we're stuck in right now.
Absolutely, that's I think. Everybody's just got to hope right now that people are responsible and smart. And yeah, look, at some point here, and we're getting to that point, I think the economy is going to reopen. And we need to, as a society, and the NFL certainly falls in line with this, have a plan, be prepared, be smart, but also understanding, yeah, look, when you step outside, there is going to be some risk, especially depending on your age and your risk factors. So it'll be an uncertain time for a while. But we're going to find out here shortly as the economy does start to reopen exactly what we're looking at, and that's going to give these sports leagues even more information on how they go about it.
Exactly. And then do you have any additional information you'd like to add just in case if I missed out on any important information?
No, I think, it's just a situation where people are going to have to understand that this is going to be unorthodox and it's going to be unique. Hopefully we never see another pandemic like this in our lifetimes. It's been 100 years since the last one. But, I do think that, look, NFL fans have to understand this season is probably not going to look like any season you've ever seen. There are going to be games that may not have fans. They may not have full stadiums at all this year. Maybe we get lucky, and maybe all that doesn't end up coming to fruition. But if it does, look, understand it's for the greater good. Also understand that it's not forever, and it won't come back. And look, the key to all this, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be. I have no medical background. But I think, we just, casually and voraciously, however you do it, I think the key is we have to test. And if we can test and figure these things out and understand the data a little bit better, then we can come up with a better plan. I'm sure that's what every big corporation is trying to figure out, and the NFL is no different.
Exactly. I mean, that was very well said by you right there. I mean, we just have to wait and see. And, I mean, it's just unprecedented, obviously. Nobody's seen this before because, like you said, the last pandemic was 100 years ago, and here we are again. So history is repeating itself. But luckily, we do have more technology now than we did back then. So I'm hoping that this will come to a closure much sooner than we think. But we just have to wait and see. And, again, it was an honor having you on the show, Matt. I had a lot of fun talking about this. And I know you're on a time crunch, so I don't want to hold you on too much longer. And, again, I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show. And I hope to have you on again in the near future.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mark. Anytime.